If I asked you to say a game that has left a lasting impact on you, what would your answer be? You might be tempted to say Undertale with its fourth wall breaks, memorable characters, and excellent story writing. Or you might say another indie game such as Hollow Knight with its platforming difficulty, its story, and its music. But one game I don't see mentioned often in this argument is Omori, a psychological horror and RPG released by OMORI on Christmas of 2020. Omori follows the story of a hikikomori named Sunny who suffers with PTSD, anxiety, as well as depression, who copes with his problems by living in a dream world called Headspace. Ever since playing this game, it has stuck with me from its characters and its music and even its hard-hitting story. Omori is a game, in my opinion, that isn't afraid to express itself and push the boundaries of narrative storytelling in video games as a whole. It's a game that I'd recommend everyone play at least once in their life, and I would even go as far as to say this game will change your life in the way that you view the world as a whole. Also, this video does contain spoilers for basically the entire plot of Omori because, well, I'll basically be discussing the entire game, so if you're in a playthrough or if you're looking to play the game soon, you've been warned. Also, massive content warning, there's going to be a lot of stuff discussed in this video that you see on screen, so if any of this makes you uncomfortable at all, please feel free to click off the video and take a break if you need. Omori opens up with a cutscene that says, "Don't worry, everything will be okay," as was shown an image of a kid crying and someone consoling him. We're then met with another cutscene, this time saying, "Welcome to white space," and as it shows, we do spawn in a space that is white. Looking around, there's not really much here. There's a cat, a light bulb, a door, Omori's sketchbook, which has some interesting drawings that show this kid is probably not okay, but Omori is actually okay, judging by the journals on his laptop. So Omori seems to be doing just fine, so at this point, I don't really know anymore. After some time, a knife drops, and after picking it up, we can go through the door. This is where the game introduces us to Aubrey, Kel, and his older brother Hiro. Kel and Aubrey don't get along, and he ends up putting Aubrey's stuffed toy inside of a watermelon? Hey, I'm not going to question it. We're in a dream world. Anything can happen at this point. After getting her toy, you exit out of the room with your friends to go see Maria and Basil. As you exit the stump, you can go 4 different ways, with the west path taking you to a forest and being blocked off by spiderwebs saying, "You are afraid of spiders." Going to the east reveals a ladder, but you can't climb up that as Omori is afraid of heights as well. And going north takes us to a beach, and going to the dock reveals a dark creature floating above the water that disappears whenever you get close. Regardless though, you can't go here since Omori is afraid of drowning, so you head south to the playground, and it's here that the game introduces you to Basil, a shy, timid boy who is the photographer of the friend group, and Marie, who is Omori's older sister, who may or may not have feelings for Hiro. We'll just say that right now. As you leave to go to Basil's house, you get stopped to play hide and seek, and since you have plot armor, you get chosen to be the seeker. After finding everyone, Burley does a roll call and everyone is present except Basil, and your first boss battle begins against a guy named Boss. Yep, that's literally his name. Regardless though, Boss takes Basil hostage since he's angry he's banned from the playground, and this interaction shows you the basics of how combat works in Omori. You have HP and Juice, with Juice being used to use special abilities such as healing other party members. This fight also introduces us to a mechanic called Plot Armor, which is a one-time saving grace that prevents Omori from taking fatal damage. After defeating Boss, you head south some more, and the game shows you the emotion mechanics, where certain emotion gives certain stats that are effective against or weak to other emotions, kinda like Pokemon. From the chart Hiro gives us, we can see that happy beats angry, angry beats sad, and sad beats happy. I quite like this system because it's simple to understand, and mastery of it feels super rewarding, especially with the critical hit sounds that were chosen for this game. I mean, just take a listen. I mean, come on, man, they sound awesome when you're in a fight. During this segment, interacting with the flowers shows some dialogue on how Basil views his friends, like what types of flowers they are, with Hiro being a rose or Kel being a cactus. But oddly enough, when it comes to Omori, Basil doesn't really elaborate, only saying that Omori is just plain, simple, and bulbous, and then proceeds to say, quote, "I don't know, I just think it's cute." This struck me as odd on my first playthrough because Basil almost acts like he doesn't know how to describe Omori, meanwhile everyone else gets a good description. Going past the flowers takes you to the entrance of Basil's house, where you have your second boss fight, this time against Ye Old Sprout. This time, Hero shows you how to use the energy bar, which allows the party to use follow-up moves after attacking, and by building up enough energy, Omori can unleash a special attack to deal massive damage. Once when you get past that, you reach Basil's house, where he pops out and takes a photo of the group. Aubrey and Kel fight over who gets to see it first in the album Basil has, and in their scuffle they end up pushing Basil over, sending the photos everywhere. Hero scolds the two and helps get them back into the photo album. Upon going into Basil's house, you help get the photos back into their proper spaces, and as Basil is walking out, a photo falls out of the album. Basil looks confused and then worried as black tendrils begin to surround him and his eyes glow a deep crimson red. Then the game flashes and shows a photograph of what seems to be Marie laying at the bottom of the stairs with debris scattered around her. We only see this photograph for a split second before we're sent back to white space, but this time the music is gone and replaced by a single heartbeat, and the door is gone as well. Nothing seems different until we look through the sketchbook, where flipping to the last page reveals the same black figure that was awaiting us at the dock, and with that, Omori's only way out of white space is by stabbing himself. You see a boy sleeping in his room. What's his name? Is the question the game asks when awaking for the first time, and while you can put any name you want, for plot convenience I'll be using Sunny for the rest of the video, since that's the official name that's used. Sunny awakes from headspace and checks his phone. A message from his mom reveals that Sunny is moving away in a couple days and he'll be alone for a bit. Your mother suggests touching grass before moving and saying goodbye to your old friends since you haven't seen them in a while. And going out of your room, you can go into the bathroom and view yourself in a mirror, which, depending on what is going on in the game, can yield some wild things to be seen. Sunny's hungry, but trying to walk downstairs will just end up with him shaking his head and turning away. So with only one other option, you try to sleep off the hunger until the morning. But that doesn't work, so you walk back outside, but this time, the house looks different. The wallpaper is torn up, the background noise of the house stops, and that same eerie red glow that was in Basil's eyes radiates through the window. Sunny begins to descend the stairs slowly, with hands starting to crawl up the side of the wall. Sunny begins to hear voices as dark, shadowy hands surround him. He continues and finds a knife on the staircase. After a little while, a realistic hand can be seen above hovering Sunny. Sunny speeds up as he tries to run, but it's no use as the hand grabs him, and the screen cuts to black. We're pitted against this distorted creature named Something, or as it's called in the game's code, Something in the Dark. It's a creature that has hands coming out of its main body with a creepy wide smile, and its eyes seem to be matching the shadowy figure found at the docks and the sketchbook. Sunny is afraid, and clicking run will do nothing. While some might say he's just having an anxiety attack, looking at his symptoms and what he experiences, I'm willing to say his anxiety is caused by him having a psychotic episode, primarily against his fear of heights, as the accompanying music track is named Acrophobia. I'd say that Sunny is having an episode of psychosis because psychosis is recognizable from the victim having auditory or visual hallucinations, which can be triggered from stress, trauma, or underlying mental disorders like schizophrenia or PTSD. And while I do say that this is a psychotic episode, they often lead into the victim having an anxiety attack, which would explain why Sunny is afraid to go down the stairs. I have to commend OMOCAT for properly displaying what it can be like to have an anxiety attack, where often movies and games just miss the mark completely by making anxiety attacks just look like short periods of stress, or just by overly dramatizing them, when in actuality the victim is just in a fight or flight mindset because their brain genuinely thinks that they are in danger. Another thing I didn't catch until writing the script and looking through the wiki is that during your phobia fights, the punctuation that follows the words fight and run are swapped to make the fight have 3 dots and run have an exclamation mark. This is such a subtle detail, I didn't even recognize it even on my 3rd playthrough. I can only assume that OMOCAT did this to give a sense of urgency with the phobias, to show that instead of wanting to fight, Sunny wants to run away because that's the safer option in his mind. Something in the dark tells you to calm down, and after Sunny calms down, the fight ends. Sunny goes to the kitchen to make some steak in the microwave. Yeah, something tells me this is not going to be a bright idea. Wait, how the fuck does the steak have grill marks on it? He threw that shit in the microwave. Anyways, after Sunny eats his barely cooked steak, he gets a stomachache and throws it back up. Shocker. It's almost like we shouldn't put steak in the fucking microwave. Anyways, after you have your incident, someone is knocking at the door, and seeing who it is, it appears to be Headspace Marie, who needs let in the house because she forgot her keys. And I pray for anyone who thought it was actually Marie that was going to be at the door instead of this Eldritch whore. Even after getting jump scared, if you check the mirror, it will be lurking behind Sunny. Now, this shit made me check behind my back every 10 minutes for a week. I genuinely got fucked up over this jump scare. And by the way, we will see this creature later in the video, so get comfortable with her cute, adorable smile, alright? After Sunny experiences all of that, he goes back to sleep and wakes up in white space. After waking back up in white space, you gain access to the Hangman menu, a quest that takes place throughout the entirety of the game that has you collecting keys in different locations to spell a phrase. As you walk out of whitespace, Omori's friends hastily greet him with panic since Basil has gone missing. You head down to the playground to find your first key, the A key, and meet back up with Marie, and the group discusses what exactly happened. As it turns out, after Basil had his quote-unquote episode, everyone just kind of blacked out and they awoke back in Neighbor's room, the room that's connected to whitespace. As you head back down to Basil's house to try and find him, upon entering the house, you find the same black creature that's been following you around. Nevertheless, no sight of Basil though interacting with the bookshelf does trigger a secret fight though. The group of friends searches through the forest to find no sight of Basil, the only clue being some bloody footsteps that lead up to a ladder that you can't climb since Omori is still afraid of heights. But with some encouragement, a fate piano key can be heard, and Omori's fear of heights is no more, allowing us to climb up the ladder. After scaling the ladder, we wind up in a place called Otherworld. The location is set in space on a moon that hovers above, where we meet Marie again, and looking behind this tree reveals a moon with muscles that wants to fight us. Holy shit, this guy is fucking jacked. After defeating this person, they don't reveal their name, only to fly off and never be seen again. Odd. Traveling up the path leads us to the headquarters of the Space Pirates, a group of space explorers who live on Otherworld. Turns out their leader, Captain Space Boyfriend, is lovesick and needs a special mixtape that's in his junkyard. The Space Pirates give you access to the junkyard, and along the way you fight the Earth? Yeah, Sunny's head makes absolutely no sense sometimes. We also discover that a peculiar shaped silhouette of a muscled planet has escaped. Maybe it's that one guy that we encountered. Regardless, we make it into the junkyard where we learn Kel likes to dig through trash, but this segment of the game also introduces us the tagging system. By tagging in Omori's friends, they can interact differently with the world. Omori can cut small objects with his knife, Aubrey can smash large objects with her bat, Kel can throw a ball to hit different targets, and Hero just has Riz. And he can also give you discount at shops. This one is the most helpful. There's also an Easter egg that you can encounter here by interacting with this picture that just looks like the one in Neighbor's room, but this time it just turns into the black figure that's been following us around as the sound plays. One part about the junkyard I always found odd was this bit with the cheese and this mouse that Hero has. We never even see this mouse again in the game, and just the circumstances for seeing it in the first place is just so bizarre. I wonder about it each time I play this game. Getting past that, you encounter a sprout mole digging through the trash, and it just so happens to find the special mixtape that we've been looking for this entire time. But even though you ask for it, she doesn't give it up because it belongs to a character named Sweetheart, and she runs off with it. As you chase her down, she taunts you, and following her will lead you to an area with some TVs laid out that says 404. Proceeding further causes a simulation of the game to crash before a pop-up window appears and you're thrown into your next boss fight. Is a boss named Download Window. Wow, it's almost like this is a mock-up of a Windows 98 download screen. Regardless though, it doesn't do much until the end of the fight where it releases a big attack, so defeat it quickly and there's absolutely no problems. After getting the special mixtape back from Rosa, the name of the sprout mole that we were chasing, we encounter the planet again, running from what seems to be the space pirates. They ask if we've seen a large, gray, muscled dude named Pluto, but like you should do if you ever get in a car accident, we don't tell the truth and deny everything. Pluto pops back out and tells us his story of how he wants to be a rogue planet and venture through the skies, exploring what life has to offer. He's tired of being a planet, so he's chosen his destiny. Of course, Kel is moved to tears by this, so much that he calls it the best speech that he's ever heard. Pluto functions as a fast travel point in this game. Scattered across the map, there are these Pluto stations that you can call Pluto to take you to different places. The first time he demonstrates this is by taking you back to the Otherworld campsite, where you go back and talk with the space pirates and finish your quest of fetching the lost mixtape. However, we come to learn that Space Boyfriend and Sweetheart have since broke up, rendering the mixtape completely useless, and Kel, what are you doing? Oh god, oh no. Kel doesn't hear any of the conversation and plays the mixtape anyways, only to awaken Space Boyfriend in an angry, rage-filled mood. He stops the mixtape and plays his own mixtape to fit the mood, and he threatens Sweetheart by saying, "That wench Sweetheart, she's going to pay for leaving me." Out of rage, he shoots his bed, and at this point, he's gone full maniac mode. So Aubrey steps in to prevent this and drops the hardest one-liner roast out there by calling him Space Ex-Boyfriend. Holy shit, she has so much aura. And of course, this enrages him even more. We exchange some more dialogue and begin our first major fight of the game against the captain of the space pirates. Let me start out by saying this music is slappin'. That will be a common theme of this video, is just me absolutely glazing the music, because I truly think that it is one of this game's main pillars. I mean, even the little jingle that plays before this fight to up the ante really sells this guy just as a major opponent. But at this point, you should have a good understanding of the battle system in this game, and this fight throws an extra challenge out by having Space Boyfriend locked to a certain emotion when under a certain amount of health. His emotion being anger, with him going through the 3 stages over the course of the fight. And Space Boyfriend is the first of the 3 bosses to have this ability, something we'll touch on later when more of those bosses are uncovered. This fight isn't too challenging though. It can get a little hairy during the later stages because the anger does give him a damage boost, so just by watching your health you should be able to get through this with pretty much no problems at all. With Space Boyfriend defeated, he finally snaps to his senses and ditches the boyfriend persona, choosing to become Captain Spaceboy once again. We ask him if he's seen Basil anywhere, but once again, no sign of the boy has been uncovered. Going outside though reveals some more bloody footprints, and following them will take you to the outer edges of Otherworld, and as you cross to enter, a high-pitched tone can be heard as the music slows and your friends disappear. Trying to go back just reads the text, quote, "There is nothing here," like this scene was completely wiped from Sunny's head. Walking through, we're given glimpses of dialogue with items that are relevant to Sunny's life. As we travel through the forest, finding random objects with bits of dialogue, presumably from Sunny's memories when he was a kid, the one about the birthday cake really just hits me the hardest. Quote, Why would I wish for anything when everything I could ever want is right here? Ouch. We follow this black figure, not one that's been following us, but a black silhouette of Basil. Following him takes us to a barn in the bottom of the map, and going inside reveals the same red glow that lurked outside the windows in Sunny's hallucination, and a large mirror. Going inside the mirror takes us to a long black hallway with creepy music playing in the background. It's a long hallway and the wallpaper is torn to shreds. This hallway just looks bleak, depressing, and dilated. Going to the end of the hallway reveals an F key, a music stand with some sheet music on it, and a family photo behind it. Interacting with the photo reads, "A happy family," though once you interact with it, all of the faces become scribbled out except for Marie's, and turning away, we're greeted with the black figure that it chases us and gets us, as an image of Basil is shown on screen, with him having a black figure above him, ready to eat him alive. Once again, we are back in white space with that same heartbeat being heard, with the only way out is to stab ourselves yet again. With Sunny waking up, we check our voicemail to learn that we were actually moving in a couple days, and our mother suggests that we should go outside and touch grass with our old friends. Kel has apparently been trying to reach out for months, but to no avail when we never answered him, and coincidentally, we get a knocking on our door right as we wake up. We can go to the bathroom to check ourselves out and brush our teeth because good dental hygiene is always important, regardless of your mental state. This time, instead of finding some demon from hell at the door, we just find Kel standing in front of us with an orange basketball uniform and that same hairstyle that he has in Headspace. He tells us that Hero is coming back from college, so we run to the bookstore to buy him a gift. Something to notice, many of the things in Headspace are related to objects or things from real life, such as Captain Spaceboy being from the Captain Spaceboy comics Sunny read as a kid, and Captain Spaceboy's ship being used in a Space Invaders type arcade game in Faraway Town. We find Hero a cookbook that he had as a kid but got eaten by their dog, so we purchased a copy for nostalgia's sake. We go past the park and hear someone yelling for help, and it turns out it's Basil, who's being attacked by a group of kids, and at the center of it is Aubrey. She's also 16 now, and she dyed her hair pink and put in cyan contacts. She makes some rude comments about Sunny's absence from the world, in which Kel stands up for us. Without hesitating, she initiates a fight, but Sunny kept the steak knife from last night in his back pocket. And yeah, something tells me the legality of this game doesn't really hold suit. She and her goons get out of there because a 2v6 is nothing if the opponent has a steak knife in his back pocket. We talk with Basil and reunite once again to find out his grandmother is sick and needs to head home. So we do the logical thing and walk him home. Basil reveals to us that the commotion caused was from Aubrey stealing a photo album from the group we used to have as kids. So doing the right thing, we set out to find the album, and the way we do that is by going across the town, beating up Aubrey's goons because they actually don't know anything about where she actually is, except for these two, Kim and Lance, who tell us that she's in a church. I've got a bad feeling we're about to interrupt a church sermon. We find the church, and even though Kel warns us it's not a bright idea to go in, we do it anyways because we don't care. As we walk in, we spot Aubrey and sit right next to her. It's revealed to us that Marie, the happy person in Headspace, is dead in the real world, and she's been dead for 4 years. She talks about how she felt abandoned by her friends because when Marie died, the friend group fell apart, even though Kel rebuttals by saying that, quote, "we were all kids," and exclaiming that everyone dealt with the death differently. Aubrey isn't having any of it and just gets more mad. This has caught the attention of the churchgoers, and now 3 16-year-olds are at the center of a stage over a photo album and held resentment. As the crowd begins to heckle her, she states that we were playing victim and making her look like a horrible person, and she snaps by saying, quote, "If you want me to be a bully, I'll be a bully," and then proceeds to start a fight. This church scene is one of my favorites in the game. The atmosphere that gets set up by the music, the bells, and the dialogue makes this fight not one purely out of anger, but one out of depression that spiraled into hatred. The music track that plays during this fight is called "It Means Everything," and it perfectly encapsulates that feeling and has this sense of dread and sadness to it. But this part is also the first point in which the plot begins to show itself, as we learn that Marie has been dead for around the same time that Sonny has been in isolation. In fact, it's the reason why he's in isolation, and some people at this point have managed to piece together some of the few clues that have been given. As the fight goes on, the people of the church begin to ridicule Aubrey from her appearance and her weapon and the commotion she brings. She's just not wanted there, and after defeating her, she storms off, going outside the church from the upward door, then going to the very top left of the graveyard, we could find Marie's grave. Quote, "Our dearest Marie, the sun shined brighter when she was here," is what her tombstone reads, and in front of it is a white egret orchid, which in the world of flowers means, quote, "My thoughts follow you into your dreams." This message and this white egret orchid will be very important later in the game, as it acts as kind of a symbolism for future events that take place. We also get some dialogue with Kel, where we learn what happened with him and his brother. Hero still blames himself for the death of Marie, and in an act completely starts lashing out at Kel. Kel also states that Hero was withdrawn from his life as he began to spiral into a depression. He wasn't taking care of himself and withdrew from school and clubs, but after that night he lashed out at Kel, he began to get somewhat better, but still has a lasting scar from it to this day. Going past Aubrey's house, we grab the photo album from the trash and take it back to Basil, where we can look at it. Some of the photos actually mimic the ones that are seen in Headspace, such as the flower crowns and this photo where Sonny is sitting. Basil also has a caretaker at his house since his parents are apparently out of the country on a business trip. She offers us to stay for dinner, and at the table, Kel reveals that we're leaving, to which Basil doesn't take too kindly to that news and just gets up and leaves. Following him, we see he's in the bathroom, and what the fuck is going on in here? Basil is having some sort of breakdown in the bathroom, and that same monster that surrounds him in the glimpse that we saw is casting a shadow on the floor. With his eyes widened, he asks us why we're leaving and begs us to stay and not leave. Something to notice as well is that the font of this speech is different too, and checking the mirror shows us the creature that's been following us around for the entirety of this game at this point. Like, Basil, stop freaking out, man. Can I just take a piss in peace without having you breathe down my back? So getting the fuck out of there, it's night, so Sonny and Kel go back home. But walking inside our house though reveals something completely different. The floors and walls are lined with spiders. Black figures that look like the creature dangle from the ceiling, and the back door has the same red glow, but this time there's blood on the door. We grab a knife and cut through the webs to go upstairs, with there being another creature sitting at the bottom of the stairs, all strung out. It disappears and we begin to ascend the stairs. As we go up, the whispers get louder. The hum buzz that fills the background gets bigger too, as our heartbeat can begin to be heard as spider legs surround us and our vision closes in. Sonny sits down on the stairs many times, shaking in fear, and reaching the top reveals the ghost of Marie, who is then swallowed by a spider that covers our vision. Sonny can't take it anymore at this point and just sits down on the stairs, shaking from fear. Then something from the ceiling comes down and watches, before attacking us with a high-pitched shriek, and we are thrown into our next fight with Sonny's phobias. This time, it's against his fear of spiders. This one is far scarier than his fear of heights in my opinion. While still being named something, This boss is actually named Something in the Walls as it's referred to in the game's code, and playing in the background is the same motif we heard in the song that played during our battle with Fear of Heights. This time, it's broken up by something in the background, with the main motif stringing everything together. This something also has a way scarier appearance, with that same black creature dangling from the mouth of the spider, as the same smile is on the body with legs coming out. At this point, I'll refer to this black creature as something, since it seems to have a relation with the phobias, Marie's death, and has a relation with hanging objects like the tire swing found in the forest. While we still can't attack something, Sunny learns to focus, which will end the fight, and with the fight over, we just see a tiny house spider that was standing in the way. Going downstairs and looking at the back door, we see a silhouette of Basil, the same one we saw in Headspace when we were at the barn. But ending this horrific nightmare, we go to bed. Now that we are back in Headspace, we continue the search for Basil by going east of the stump, but before so we're jumped by a group of sprout moles that had tickets to see Sweetheart's Quest for Hearts, which is basically the show Bachelor but in Omori. Going into the spiderweb reveals the legs of the creature we fought, but since Sunny isn't afraid of spiders anymore, Omori isn't either, and we proceed on. This forest is covered in a dense fog, dense foliage, and many types of spider-like enemies, and even though Omori isn't afraid of them anymore, Hiro still is, and he is given the afraid emotion anytime he enters a battle against a spider enemy. In this area, we have to use these matches to light candles and get the missing pieces of the railroad track to advance forward. If you do some exploration, you can actually find a secret path that has these spider cats in them, and going past that, you go into a new location called the Lost Forest. There's also a character here named Daddy Longlegs who's a tall, dark figure who tells you about the world. Specifically at the end of the forest, he tells you about why the creation of Headspace happened and what purpose it serves. More interestingly, he doesn't refer to us as Omori in this dialogue, but calls us the Dreamer, as in he's referring to Sunny because he is the one who dreams of this reality. He says, quote, "You have reached the end of the lost forest, but the beginning of the truth. I will tell you a story that has been lost through time, a story about the creation of this reality. In the beginning, there only existed two, the Dreamer and his room. The Dreamer grew wary of his room and created a door that led to many different worlds. Walking the path as a visitor to these worlds, the Dreamer would come and go as he pleased, slips and falls, tumbles and drops. The Dreamer's curiosity and clumsy exploration eventually led him to a certain world, one not like the others, one painted with chaos and bathed in darkness. The Dreamer slowly became filled with dread. Quiet as they may have been, the words of malice quietly crept into his mind, whispering lies, secrets, and truths. Powerless to silence the noise, the Dreamer manifested benevolent entities in his different worlds. Then he compounded his worlds above the Dark Realm, sealing it with their combined might. Yet despite his valiant efforts, the darkness's presence never abated. Even with new allies, the darkness continued to scrape and scratch at the back of the Dreamer's mind. The noise might have subsided, but it never went away. The Dreamer could run and bury his fears, but one still has to face his own reflection. What the Dreamer had created was something he could not be a part of, something outside himself. The Dreamer's own power was his greatest adversary. Knowledge, or the absence of it, would become the Dreamer's greatest gift. To truly escape the perils of his own faculty and ascend to a blissful state of ignorance, only then would the noise cease to agitate the Dreamer's sanity. So, the Dreamer took on another name and chose to forget himself. From that time on, The dreamer has lived amongst us, simply as an inhabitant of this world, traveling along blissfully, ignorant of his own fabrication. Children, I must warn you, as with all things that are born in and out of this world, an end will threaten this one too. Though the dreamer may have subdued the inexorable, the darkness grows still. No bandage can stifle an eternal wound, and there will be a time when its influence will bleed through. Forgetful of the dreamer may be of this peril, a peril never forgets to be. Yet the end of this world may be an inevitability. The dreamer is the only one with the ability who can set this world free. Essentially, Sonny would create and dream about different worlds, but over time, his guilt and anxiety would seep into the places he would create. So to prevent that from happening, he created the world of Headspace and took on the Omori persona. We actually learn even more about Headspace later in the game from a different NPC, and in the Hikikomori route of the game, the route that happens if you don't answer Kel the first time he knocks, the stranger that follows you around will also tell you about the creation of the world. Though the Hikikomori route will be an entirely separate video, and in my conclusion I'll go over exactly why that's the case. Once Daddy Longlegs tells us the story, he walks into the fire and disappears forever, and we are greeted with another key for the Hangman puzzle. But right as we exit the forest, in the top right corner, we can see a hanging body, followed by a girl's distorted laughing. Oddly enough, she's colored the same way that Marie was colored when Sonny sees her ghost in real life. We press forward past the minecart track onto an area where many dead sprout moles lay, and here we prepare for another boss fight against a centipede-like creature named King Crawler that has its body made out of the sprout moles it claims. This fight isn't too hard, though it does heal quite a bit by eating sprout moles mid-fight, and Aubrey and Kel get knocked around quite a bit in this fight as well. Regardless though, the music is once again another banger, with this track being called Sweet Paralysis. After defeating King Crawler, we go into the Sprout Mole village, hand in our tickets, and take our seats just as Sweetheart's show begins. The show starts with a moment of silence for the ye old Sprout, the one we killed at the beginning of the game. The contestants are Sprout Moles, and the other one is Snaily, who just gets struck by lightning. A power surge happens and the show is cancelled until it comes back on, so we head out and explore the village to find that the entire source's power supply is just moles running on treadmills that are connected to an outlet, and it's not even plugged in! Now that the power is restored and the show continues, a studious looking Sprout Mole asks Hero to join the show since they need a new contestant after one literally died right in front of us. Hero agrees and it starts again, with this time there being a funeral for Stanley. After introducing the contestants, Hero really just ain't having it. I mean, like, bro is shaking on the stage trying to get out of there. And finally, Sweetheart takes the stage, and she sounds like every obnoxious YouTuber to ever exist. She's looking for a suitor who will, quote, submit to her and her every need. So she's obnoxious and crazy, got it. And the contestants she doesn't like, she sends them to the dungeon. Okay, so she's obnoxious, crazy, and abusive, got it. She really takes a liking to Hero and starts glazing the fuck out of him, and obviously since he already has his sights on Mari, but Sweetheart can't take anyone rejecting her. She's too up in her head to believe that anyone would ever reject her, but Hero says it again, and this time it makes her snap, so she sends them to the dungeon for disrespecting her. Even though we've been put into the dungeon, every door is basically unlocked. I mean, how are these bean creatures going to lock them in the first place? They don't even have hands to do that. If you attack them, they duct tape weapons to their bodies. Could you imagine how awkward that must be though? If you want to swing at me, you have to contort your whole body just to do it. Exploring the dungeon is fairly straightforward. Go into the cells, hit some switches, and look at some interesting furniture choices. And if you go back here into this tunnel, you get access to this secret room, and something is here. Great. Once you get out of the dungeon, you're in the main heart of the castle, where you're stopped by guards, but you pick up some masks from the Sprout Moles you killed for the tickets. Since these guys are so unbelievably stupid, they believe that you were actually Sprout Moles all along, and you can now just go throughout the castle completing various quests until the people at the front clear out. These quests include throwing tomatoes at an orchestra, making a very shitty cake, and sending moles to the dungeon that don't wear a certain color. After completing a section, you fight a mini-boss named Sir Maximus. There's actually 3 of them you have to fight. Once when you get through the castle, you go outside and have a look around secret 4-word code. There's also this section that you can look at through the vines. Nothing really happens here if you spend That actually scared the shit out of me. Okay. After finding the 4 guards that have the code, it turns out to be, quote, sweet jelly-filled donut, which is what Captain Spaceboy would call her. Maybe she also misses him too. We travel down the corridor, refresh our health, and pop back out to watch as she marries herself. Kel bursts out laughing, but Aubrey is saddened by it and steps out of the way to say something about it. With Sweetheart being so goddamn mad that we managed to escape the dungeon and crash her show twice, instead of sending us back, this time she just fights us instead, and now we begin the second major boss fight of the game. Sweetheart isn't too much of a step up in difficulty. At this point in the game, you're fairly leveled up and have acquired enough heals to suffice you, although one major difference in this fight is that Sweetheart goes through the stages of being happy when her health falls below certain stages. There's also some Easter eggs you can discover in this fight too. If you have Hero and use Smile, she makes a comment towards him talking about how gorgeous his smile is. Regardless though, much of the dialogue is really just her shit talking. In fact, some of her moves actually make the party angry, and this is somewhat annoying if you've already set up with the sadness emotion for max damage. But it is a funny nod to the sense that she just makes people angry, and to actually defeat her, you have to feel bad for her. Also, if you thought that Space Boyfriend had a good theme, Sweetheart's one is definitely a banger. It just gives that feeling that you're versing someone who is so over the top and obnoxious, but yet they are still a danger as well. I mean, just take a listen to it. I mean, like, it's so good. This was like one of the first Omori songs that got put on my Spotify playlist, by the way. After shattering her ego, all of her guards back away and retreat. But after this, Space Boyfriend busts through the ceiling with this ship and marries her on the spot, and then blows up the stage, and then flies away. Man, love is really weird sometimes. We go to the exit, but something keeps us from going. We look back at the hole that was left, and the stranger enters the hole as black eyes surround it, the same eyes that we see on something. We go towards the hole, and when we interact with it, the game asks, quote, "It's a long way down. Do you want to jump?" After we fall into the hole, we enter a place called the Lost Library, a place stored deep within Sunny's consciousness that houses the memories of when he was a kid. When we enter, we hear the piano playing a somber tone, a version of Firefly Forest from earlier with a mix of slight static in the background. We see the white orchids present, but we also see the shadows of creatures that have the same black appearance of the something that follows us around, a black body with one single eye, or multiple eyes in some cases. There's 6 books scattered across that you can read. The names are a little hard to understand since they're marked out and replaced with squares, but 3 squares stands for Kel, 4 stands for Hero or Marie, 5 is Basil, 6 is Aubrey, and 1 is for Sunny. The reason why it's 1 is because technically you can put any name you want for Sunny, so Omocat just did that. But the 6 books contain memories about a beach, spilled juice, a treehouse, school, water, and the violin, and each one reads as follows. One by one, they fell asleep on the car ride home. It was a long day at the beach after all, and everyone was exhausted. Kel was the first to nod off, then the rest. As the sun set over the freeway, Sonny's head accidentally drops onto Aubrey's shoulder. The sudden jolt wakes him, but he doesn't dare open his eyes. He pretends to be asleep and steadies his breathing. He listens to the sound of the road. He feels the soft sun resting on his skin and the slight tinge of pain from his nose from tomorrow's sunburn. He is happy, very, very happy, and he makes a vow to himself that no matter what, he will remember this moment forever. A puddle of juice sinks into the carpet. Hovering above it is none other than Kel, holding an open juice box. He looks around at his friends who are all wearing the same face of disappointment. He lets out a guilty chuckle. In what seems like less than a second, Kel disappears out the front door. A tiny black kitten makes her way through the stain, leaving sloppy, wet tracks all across the carpet. Marie's face turns red and yells for Kel. Kel is already long gone. Hiro hands Marie some wet paper towels. It looks like they're the only adults here, and if they don't clean this up soon, the carpet is going to stain, and they'll have to deal with Kel later. It was a hot summer day, and all Sonny could think about was why couldn't they do this tomorrow? The backyard was a mess. Planks of wood were strewn about the area. Paint stains blotched the grass thanks to Basil and Aubrey's work. All day, Sonny watched Hiro lug planks of wood back and forth from his dad's pickup truck. He watched Kel hammer his fingers over and over and made note that over an hour has passed since Marie has climbed down her ladder. I will just be their moral support, Sonny thought, as he sat sleepily in the shade of his favorite tree. Of course, he knew this wouldn't be the case. Soon his friends will be asking for his help, and he won't be able to refuse. The treehouse is for everyone, so it's only fair that everyone puts some work into it. Sonny knows this and agrees, but reluctantly, he knows he should put in his fair share. It just had to be on the hottest day of summer. This year, Sonny was lucky enough to get assigned to a desk next to the small window. Every day during class, Sonny would gaze listlessly through the opening at the shadows of the trees, the clouds creeping overhead. His mind drifted elsewhere into his own worlds, his own stories, his own adventures. He had a habit of doing this. It was easy for him to get lost. Today was the same day as any other. Sonny stared vacantly out the small window as the clouds passed one by one. Suddenly, a hand playfully slaps his back, snapping him out of his reverie. Sonny looks away from the opening. Kel smiles. He motions that class is over and that it's finally time for lunch. It's pizza day today, and they need to bolt to the cafeteria before it's all gone. Sonny's stomach growls. He looks at the small window one last time. He would have to continue his adventures another day. It's sunset. A strange statue watches over the hidden lake. It might have meant something significant in the past, but time has made its engravings ineligible. Either way, it doesn't matter to the company visiting it today. They're only here to use it as a diving board. The brothers take turns jumping off of the statue. Hiro jumps first, then Kel, then Hiro again, then Kel again. The brothers gleefully urge Sonny to join them, and after careful thought, Sonny warily agrees. Sonny shuffles up the statue and looks down at the moving water. He can hear his heartbeat. His ears begin to ring. His legs feel as if they would give out at any time. He tries to focus on his breathing. He feels something crawling on his shoulder, and his eyes fly open to meet with those of a black spider. In an instant, Sonny loses all senses and hurls himself into the lake. Water fills his nose. He exerts his limbs, but the water is stronger. He's too weak, too helpless, or that is what he believes. Sonny shuts his eyes and waits for the brothers to save him. Everyone is over again today. The special occasion is Saturday morning. From 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., a group of 6 friends eat a delicious homemade breakfast and watch TV together. It's the most enjoyable part of every week. Sonny looks at the clock. 8 a.m., 2 hours left. He would be able to watch with everyone else until 10 a.m. when his tutor arrives. Sonny grimaces. What he thought would be a rewarding hobby has been nothing more than a nuisance. Instead of watching the shows with the rest of his friends, he'll be the only one missing out. If only he could watch the last hour with everyone else. If only he didn't have to play the violin. This is actually why we see Aubrey rest her head so much on Omori in Headspace, is because in the real world it was the opposite, and Sunny had wished that Aubrey liked him back, but I digress. Something else to note, these quotes also correspond somewhat with the memories that were shown during the scene with Otherworld. Marie is also here, and going into the room on the left shows us the stranger. Yes, its full name is Stranger. It doesn't say anything, it just kind of looks at us and disappears. Inspecting the piano reveals that the word Omori is etched into it. Coming to the end of the library on the right, we find an L key, one of the keys needed for the hangman as we enter the door. We awake to find Kel knocking on our door again. This time we go out to get some stuff since Hiro comes home from college today. In this playthrough, I decided to explore faraway towns some more, since when I did my first run I didn't really do any exploration of the town at all, and you'd be surprised at how many items and quests there are for you to find and complete. You can collect the trash, you can buy a lamp for this dude's mom, you can play hide and seek with Michael's older siblings, but if you go into the back of hobbies, you find a hallucination of Basil and Aubrey when they were younger, but getting close to them just causes them to fade away. After getting the items, you go back to Kel's house to find the $20 in his closet that he was gonna give us. We also find some pepper spray in his mom's purse. While they're chilling, Polly comes to Kel's house and reveals that Basil is missing. So us being the great friends we are, we leave to go out looking for him and find him tucked away at a hidden section at top of the park, an area where the friend group used to hang out, but now Aubrey uses it for her group. At this point, their group is tired of Kel and Sunny's shit, so they fight them in a 2v6, and we just use the pepper spray. And somehow these guys still question how they lost. It's almost like 6 million Scoville units to the eyeballs isn't very pleasant. Aubrey's friends leave, and it's just Sunny, Kel, Aubrey, and Basil left. While Aubrey continues to drill us, she completely loses it. Her face goes red as she pursues Basil, and in a fit of rage, pushes him into the abyssal waters below, knowing that he cannot swim to save himself. Kel distracts her and tells us to go save Basil, but before Sunny jumps, we hear a hum buzz that takes over our hearing as tentacles reach out. Our vision begins to tunnel as we take the plunge to save Basil, and now that we're in the water, we awake back at the top of the stairwell, but this time we are underwater. Marie is here, and we follow her as her theme plays on the piano as glitches are heard from the water. The further down we go, the same black tentacles begin to surround us. We get to the bottom where we meet Marie to pick up a knife. Then she disappears with the music cutting out as the smile from the phobias makes its appearance and grabs Sunny. Sunny awakes back up, this time in a fight against a tentacle-like creature, with this one being thalassophobia, or the fear of large, dark bodies of water. We can see people hanging from the tentacles of this creature, while the iconic phobia motif plays while being distorted by the sound of water whirling around. It tells Sunny, quote, "Steady your heartbeat. Don't be afraid. It's not as scary as you think." It then tells us to, quote, "Don't give up, no matter how hard it may seem." As Sunny learns the move Persist, which keeps his health from dropping to 0. As Sunny persists, the background becomes lighter and lighter as the tentacles slowly begin to disappear, and after this, we're shown a cutscene of Marie grabbing Sunny's hand as we awaken the real world to find that Hero saved us from drowning. I think what really makes this phobia terrifying is the fact that this time it's not happening inside of our house, but Sunny is having a panic attack while he's underwater and needs to conserve oxygen. He can't scream or yell for help. He can't even open his eyes or the water will just sting his vision. He's entirely surrounded without a way out, and thinking about it actually makes me kind of scared myself as someone who cannot swim. This is also the worst case scenario if I was ever stuck in a body of water. Just the idea of helplessly accepting your fate knowing you can't do anything about it is extremely terrifying, and I believe that was captured greatly by OMOCat here. Another thing to mention is that while it does look like tentacles, when we see more of something in the water, it takes on more of a hair-like texture that spreads out, almost reminiscent of the cutscene that we see with Sunny and Marie in the water. This moment is also why Sunny has the 3 phobias, because if you remember from the water book in the Lost Library, Sunny jumps into the lake from a high area because he was frightened by a spider and Marie had to save Sunny, which is also most likely why we see Sunny think it's Marie saving him, because he thinks about that memory. Back into the moment of Hero saving 2 people from near death. Turns out Aubrey didn't just commit manslaughter and Basil is just knocked out and we need to rush him home to get warm. Aubrey tries to keep us there, but Kel isn't having it and we just walk to Basil's house. After dropping Basil off, you can explore far away a bit more and do some side quests. Although if you try to visit Marie's grave, Hero will just deny you and say, quote, "I'm not ready to do this." You go back to Kel's house to hang out before Hero asks if he can stay the night at Sunny's since it's his second to last night there, and walking into Sunny's house is actually normal this time. Besides that, you can go into the hallway where Hero mentions that there was a closet on the left when there isn't actually a door there. Technically, there is actually a door there, but Sunny has blocked it out of his mind to where anytime you go over to interact with it, he just says, "There is nothing here." The 3 boys walk into the piano room where Hero shows off his skills, but after the 2 brothers walk out, a piano tune can still be heard. A piano rendition of the title screen plays, and inspecting the piano shows that the word Omori is etched across the piano, just like the Lost Library. Going upstairs to the save basket shows that Marie is here, but she disappears after walking in. After giving our gift to Hero, Kel goes to sleep, and shortly after, we go to sleep and enter Headspace for the night. Going out into Headspace shows us that no one is around. The music doesn't change when switching rooms. Trying to get past the playground can't even happen, or even trying to go into the forest or other world, none of it can happen, as all of those areas are blocked off by a dense fog. The only way out is to go through the water. Marie tells us that everyone is gone and we must swim across to find them. Though when we're getting ready to take the plunge, she says, quote, "Steady your heartbeat, don't be afraid, it's not as scary as you think," which is the same line that was told to us by something when Sunny was in the water, which would reinforce the point that these two, Sunny's phobias, are linked in some way to Marie and or her death. As we're swimming, we can't go off in any direction besides going straight ahead. Trying to go into another room from the left to the right just tells us, quote, "There is nothing here," the same line that was mentioned when we tried to escape the scene in Otherworld. Crossing into the next area shows us that there's many strangers in the water, not just of Basil, but blacked out silhouettes of all of Omori's friends. This ocean is vast and empty. The only thing here is you with the shadows of your friends, some mangrove trees, and Omori's big sister, who may not be the real Marie in this segment of the game. The amusement is just a couple notes with the sound of the ocean waves in the background to give you the sense that yes, you are alone. If you swim for a bit, you'll come across a lighthouse, and going inside of it shows the family painting that was in the long dark hallway, and looking at it shows that all of the faces are scribbled out and replaced with horrific faces, except for Marie's. Marie comments, "This poor photo, it's barely holding itself together," almost as a symbolism that at this point in the game, Sunny is barely keeping himself together. He's barely been keeping himself together for the last 4 years, but just now, everything is starting to come back to him. This ocean segment is the last chapter of the game before we hit deep water, and we really get into the depths of the plot. Swimming forward, we come across the pier. During this, Marie talks to us along the way, but her dialogue isn't her usual happy attitude no matter what. She shows that something is wrong and comments, quote, "Omori, I'm so proud of you. You swam all the way here even though you've always been terrified of water. But there's still one big thing you're afraid of, isn't there? Something a little bit harder to overcome." And this is said in reference to the fact that Sunny isn't over Marie's death. Even though Sunny and Omori are different entities with different thoughts, they share many characteristics that are deep-rooted within Sunny's mind, such as Sunny's phobias. Walking across the pier shows islands with the strangers on them, and when you look at them, they disappear and you can hear a faint laughing after they do. These people don't have a correlation with the 6 memories that is kept in the Lost Library, at least not from what I can connect. However, these strangers aren't limited to the sprites that are used for people. There's one island that contains a humanoid shape of Basil and another person that disappears. Coming to the end of the pier, we see the strangers sitting on a stump and a giant window that Marie walks towards, one similar to the window in the piano room. She says, quote, "You've seen this curtain once before, the last time we went to the lake. This is my last stop, though. I know I shouldn't have come. It just gets a little lonely without everyone. It's not my place to say anymore, but I hope you're still there, Sunny. I really miss you." The screen flashes white, and Marie turns into her ghost form as she says, "Goodbye, little brother," as she walks into the window and then disappears, only to reveal a whirlpool. Before we go in, something's eyes take over our vision, and we are transported to a well to climb down. At the bottom is the M key, one of the many keys that we need for the hangman, and after collecting it, there's a hole that you can jump into. It spawns Omori in a replica of Basil's house from far away, but it's dim. On the floor are 6 photographs, and they've all been blacked out. They all either contain Marie or Aubrey. The first one shows Kel, Marie, and Hiro playing cards. The second one shows Aubrey with a watermelon. The third shows the group sleeping after a picnic. The fourth one is Aubrey with a raincoat. And the fifth one is Basil's birthday. And the sixth one, while a little hard to make out, is Sunny holding a violin. Nothing happens after interacting with the photos, and you're free to walk out whenever you want. Coming out of the well, we start at an area called the Underwater Highway that's ran and patrolled by gators. One of them gives you a ride to where everyone else is, and it turns out that Kel is here, and he reveals that everyone signed contracts and works at a casino called The Last Resort. Going forward, Marie is here, but you're wondering how that's even possible because we just saw Marie disappear into a window. My theory on this is that the Marie that was with us during the Piers segment wasn't Headspace Marie, but rather a real-life projection that Sunny has of Marie. Because the Marie from Headspace wouldn't reference real-world events or even reference Omori's real name for that matter, in my opinion, it was a segment of Sunny's mind trying to get him to face the fact that his sister is dead. Marie, the one from Headspace, even comments on why Omori isn't happy to see her. Quote, "What is it, Omori? Why aren't you happy to see your big sister?" Kel just tells Marie that Omori is just being cliff-faced as usual and then begins to talk about his job at the last resort, but then forgets what he was going to do afterwards. Then Marie interjects by mentioning the search to find Basil. Going inside the last resort, you can fight the Gator guys, or my favorite part about this segment is gamble. Yes, that's right, you can gamble away all of your hard-earned money and actually receive a massive payout if you do it enough times. I kid you not, I spent like 3 hours just gambling slots, and I went from 3,000 clams to 131,274. Holy shit. So now I can just practically buy any item in the game and never need to worry about running out of money, even with Heroes Shop discounts. In my personal opinion, this part is a little bit of filler. None of what happens here until the next boss fight has much impact on the story at all. You essentially go around the casino fetching items until you make it up to the final floor to rescue Aubrey and Hero. Aubrey has been placed as a secretary, and Hero is just kind of the boss's right-hand man. We snap Aubrey out of her trance by reminding her that we have to find Basil. Going into the next room, we face Mr. Jossum, the ringleader of this whole operation. And the whole point of him being a shark is a reference to loan sharks, basically shady people who lend you money and then cripple you with interest on those loans. The group tells Hero that they need to go, Basil is still missing, so they need to continue their quest. But like a bad manager at a fast food place, Mr. Jossum doesn't want Hero to leave. He's a star employee for him, so he decides to get his Gator goons and fight the 4 of them. The main gimmick with this fight is to damage his henchmen, then attack Jossum for a turn or two. This fight can be pretty tricky if you aren't able to get both his henchmen out, because if you kill one, the next turn he'll just call in a new henchman. So the strategy is to get both of them low to the point where you can kill them in one turn, and then ideally use an attack with multiple hits at once. I gotta admit, I love the music for this fight. It's not super upbeat, but it feels like an upbeat jazz song from 1940s New York. I think it really gives that feeling of just fighting a mob boss. Halfway through the fight, Jocelyn becomes angry as his business begins to fail during the fight, and after you defeat him, he calls in his best guard, Pluto. Pluto begins to Pluto everywhere and then rips the fucking building apart with just his sheer presence, and then transforms into his ultimate form. He's not just a rock with some muscles anymore. This is like Ronnie Coleman levels of jacked. Reminds me of Tom Platt screaming "fucking kill me" on the leg extension levels of jacked. I mean, this guy is like 30 times our size, and this guy's theme is just banging. I knew the moment I heard this, I immediately put it in my Spotify playlist. There's no gimmicks here, no emotional stages, just fighting a big ass bulky rock. So really any strategy is viable. I typically go with stacking emotions for this fight, but on this playthrough I went with stacking anger against sadness, mainly because Omori's furious sprite is sick as hell. Pluto is actually a tough fight though. Even with sadness, he deals massive damage, and halfway through the fight, he buffs his stats even more. So always having Hero regenerate juice or health is the best in my opinion. If you have Kel use flex in this fight, Pluto makes a comment about how Kel's flex has greatly improved. So maybe Kel has a sleeper build at this point or something. Once the fight ends, he's still not done. Pluto charges up for one last attack, and the screen starts to shake and go white as Pluto begins to scream, "When I flex, I feel my best." And then the fight cuts to Jossum's office where the whole thing was probably blown out of proportion. Damn. Regardless though, we make it out of the grip of Jossum's contracts, and we can go do as we please again. But before we head out though, Kel and Aubrey argue over what Basil even looks like because apparently they've forgotten. So they draw a picture to which by Hero's comment suggests that it's a very lovely rendition of Basil. Going out of the last resort, if you go to the right and down to the whirlpool, you can find a secret area with a Jash that will sell you emotion items. And with our newfound fortune, we can basically buy as many as we want, and grab the Oki here for the hangman as well. Once again, another hole appears, and going into it will spawn Omori in a pitch black room in front of 2 VHS tapes and a TV. One tape is labeled Omori, and the other is labeled Basil. Popping the Omori tape shows us Sunny sitting at a piano, staring down at his reflection that is showing. We can also go to this tiny island right off the eastern path of the vast forest and grab the C key for Hangman as well. Although this time the font changes, and going into the hole will put Omori underwater, slowly descending into the mouth of Hellmurray. Getting away from that creepy thing though, this is also the part of the game where you can kind of detour off and explore headspace more, so I'll briefly go over the Orange Oasis and the Unbred Twins fight. To get there, you have to use the train, but when you get on, something is off. The only thing occupying the train is the stranger, or well, multiple copies of him. Trying to talk to them will just give you any of these replies about a home. Home is not here. Here is not home. Home is not where here is. Here is not where home is. Here is not home, but where is here? Home is not here, but where is home? And finally, where is home? All of these are super ambiguous, and going deeper into the train will have the lights cut out as figures of something appear in the darkness and the strangers disappear. Going forward reveals this twisted creature that somewhat resembles something. It has the eye and a dark body, but instead of sharing its name, it's just labeled as 3 question marks. However, Aubrey, Kel, and Hiro are afraid in this fight, but Omori isn't. You can't inflict emotions onto this creature, and defeating it just reads, Sunny, I'm sorry, and then the fight just ends. My best guess as to why Omori isn't afraid refers back to what Daddy Longlegs told us. Omori isn't afraid because his purpose is to deal with creatures like this. Creatures that are manifested from this quote-unquote dark world that plagues Sunny's mind. The creatures that tell him the truth. But this creature existing in Headspace makes the prophecy true, that nothing can contain the dark world below Headspace. After that weird encounter, we arrive at the Orange Oasis, where to get to the next boss fight, you have to get to this graveyard of bread, play the tune that plays when you complete a quest, and then go down into the grave. You touch the toast and drop into this area with their mole. To move forward, you have to unlock this safe that tells you to sacrifice the mole to the bread gods to move forward, and then after doing that, you're chased by a boulder where it seems you die at the end, but it was just a fake, and you wake up in this area called Brevin. If you go into other rooms, there's also other moles and lots of healing items, though that doesn't really apply since we're so fucking rich now. Going forward, we encounter the Bread Twins, which is Sunny's rendition of Michael's twin siblings who work at the bakery at Faraway. The Bread Twins give life to bread in this bakery and throw it out into the world via this portal. They talk about how baking bread is the only thing they were made for, but when they turn around, they think that Omori and his friends are evil bread that has come back to attack them, so a fight begins. And I know this is like the 7 billionth time that I've glazed the music, but holy fuck, this is by far the best song in the game. I would know. It was my top song on Spotify Wrapped. I am in 0.01% of listeners. I was the number 1 Ready Steady Go listener. My power is unmatched. But regardless though, this song is just slapping with energy, very energetic, but keeps that feeling of a fight theme. It's just very, very fitting. And it has been a track that has just stuck with me for whatever reason. I mean, just go ahead and take a listen to it for yourself. The main gimmick here is a mix between Space Boyfriend and Mr. Jossum, where they become gradually more sad as the fight goes on, but also calls on bread creatures to assist them. I do find it odd that even though this boss is very out of the way of the normal campaign route, this boss has the effect that the 2 main route bosses have in the sense that they change emotions with their health. I've never found a reason as for why this is the case. Even after browsing wikis upon wikis, Reddit pages after Reddit pages, it just seems like an interesting quirk to give the last emotion to a boss that is just out of the way that you'll never encounter with normal gameplay. The Bread Twins is also just a hard fight in general. I actually struggled with this fight the first time I did it and constantly needed to revive or heal Omori and his friends back up from the brink of death. One nice thing though is that they give a load of XP when killed, enough to shoot you up 2 or 3 levels, because if you're not careful going into the last boss of this game, you can actually get stuck in a grind loop that takes a while to get out of. When you defeat them, they realize that there's more to life than just baking bread, and they leave through the portal so they can experience the world above them. And with this subplot done, we can continue with our main story of the game. We head back to Deepwell on the underwater highway to find Sweetheart spewing some nonsense about making a perfect clone of herself with some sea witches. So what you would typically do is take this route off of the toll, do some exploration, and come back to find her with more dialogue, because in total they cost around 30,000 clams just to get through all of them. But because I have so much money from gambling, I just said fuck it and let's see if it will actually let you through. And to my surprise, you can actually skip like 30 minutes of fights in this game just by paying your way through the tolls. Do I recommend doing this for a first playthrough though? No, because there is some extra dialogue given by Sweetheart. But yeah, if you ever want to skip through this section, just gamble for a bit and then walk right through. Along the way, you can also pick up the S key, which spawns a hole to look into. And this one shows a very demented version of Sunny with red glowing eyes and blood all over him. At this point, you've probably caught on that the keys get worse and worse as we fill out the sentence that it's trying to spell. And if you keep note of the keys, we might have been able to figure out what the phrase is. Pressing forward though, we come across a bridge to the last location in the game called Deeperwell, a place that, according to Marie, has been around for a long time, but the bridge to access it has just recently appeared. When we go across the bridge into Deeperwell, it isn't normal. The music is melancholic with an echoing tone that seems to repeat over and over. The atmosphere is dark and the creatures filling the space just seem very out of place. Once you get across the bridge, the group talks about Basil, wondering if they'll ever find him and if their search is even worth it anymore. They try to remember Basil, but they struggle to remember him, even finding it hard to remember what he looks like. Hiro only remembers that he likes flowers and photos by saying, quote, "Let's see here. Basil loves taking care of flowers and taking photos of his friends. The rest is starting to get fuzzy." Even with these perils, they press on with the quest to find Basil, but soon it will fade away from their minds without a doubt. There are NPCs you can talk with here in Deeperwell, but their dialogue isn't normal either. They all refer to Omori as the Dreamer, the same word used to reference Sunny, and talk about his dream state and the truth he hides from. These NPCs even have weird names. Just some notable ones are Empty, Minus, and Ought. Empty tells us, quote, "With time, what is important will change. You must choose what you will keep and what you will cast away. Not everyone has that choice." Minus tells us, "It is selfish to dream for so long when there are those who are expecting you." And Ought tells us, "When trouble shows itself, there is always the choice to run, but one day you may very well find yourself running alone." The quote from Decay is also just very off-putting, with it stating, "Time will always move forward. Eventually, the truth will become clear. You know this well, don't you, dreamer?" The last NPC is one of notoriety, as I referenced it when talking about Daddy Longlegs. This is the second NPC that tells the creation of Headspace, and when you discover him, the stranger sits on a swing, waiting. But right as you get close, it disappears. You can talk to the branch coral about Whitespace, the yellow cat, and why Basil has gone missing, and these are the responses he gives you. A long time passed since you have ventured this far. Deeper layers of this world open up as the dreamer grows more desperate. Even imagination is limited. You have questions that I can answer, answers that you have forgotten. I will lay them out for you if you are curious. You will choose. You would like to know more about your lost friend? The friend you have lost is not in this world. The day he was removed, he was reborn elsewhere. He is special to you. A string of fate ties you two together. He cannot leave that place alone. To retrieve him, you will have to remove yourself as well, but in a way that is natural for this world, for headspace. Your journey is nearing its end. You already know what you have to do, dreamer. You would like to know more about the big yellow cat? Before this world was created, there existed 3 great creatures. The oldest, the wisest, and the favorite. The oldest is alive, but not the same as he once was. Age has removed his consciousness, and he has evolved into a parasite within himself. He lives here, just beyond this cavern. The wisest, against her reason, committed an act that opposed the dreamer's will. It is an act that is not even known by me, and as a result, she was stripped of her wisdom and banished to isolation, a special prison somewhere deep, deep down. The last and favorite, the big yellow cat, was chosen to watch over the dreamer's most precious room. He remains the dreamer's favorite even to this day, watching diligently, waiting for something to happen. You would like to know more about white space? To be in white space is to be nothing. White space is emptiness, a home without warmth, a place to survive but not live. Even still, your consciousness cannot be erased. It will always find a way in. Even in white space, it will take the form, and if one wills it, something will be formed to subdue it. A hanging black light bulb, the repression of an idea. Yes, perhaps it is time to admit that you are human, dreamer. The branch coral then offers you a sacrifice. Taking it will lead you to a tree with an apple that has Sunny's head on it. The room has the black hands from the phobias, and consuming the apple will show a cutscene of Sunny drowning in blood as Omori eats the apple and gains a significant stat boost to every aspect. This scene is of course reminiscent of when Eve eats the forbidden fruit, thus granting her infinite wisdom, even though it goes against what God told Adam and Eve, which, to make parallels from the book of Genesis, God in this sense is probably Sunny, where headspace is his Garden of Eden, and anything that shows signs of the truth behind Marie's death is removed from his mind entirely. The branch coral dies after giving us his wisdom and cannot be interacted with again. But man, was this information a drop, and it expands on the knowledge from what we've already obtained. Using his knowledge and Daddy Longlegs, we learned that Basil was removed from headspace because of his link to Marie's death, and as a result of Sunny's guilt and trauma from when Marie died, white space was created to subdue it, with the hanging black light bulb powering it all. The light bulb and white space itself is the representation of repression. It is why we see the light bulb glow brighter and brighter the further we progress in Omori. If Sunny wants to confront the truth, he has to remove himself from his bubble, from his dreamlike state, and face what has plagued him for 4 years. And you might think that, well, is that it? No, this barely even scratches the surface for how deep the rabbit hole actually goes. We press forward into the deepest part of Deeper Well, and we come across a cave that has these little miniature somethings in it, but also a giant whale named Humphrey who tells us that Sweetheart has visited her, with the group wondering where she is. Humphrey tells us that she's inside of him, as in, he ate her. Humphrey is also home to the sea witches that Sweetheart was visiting, so Humphrey offers us a chance to see them, and Omori and his friends also get eaten by Humphrey. Inside of Humphrey, he talks to us through these little appendages that can pop up out of nowhere, and it turns out that Humphrey has a whole fucking research center inside of him. Even goes on to talk about how he, quote, fucking loves air conditioning. So, we are inside of a whale that does science research that loves air conditioning. Yeah, this game just does not make sense anymore. There's 3 different routes in Humphrey's lab. One route takes you to a bomb to defuse, where you have to do 3 separate puzzles to fully defuse it. After you get through the last puzzle to defuse the bomb, you come across a section that displays CCTV footage of the group, to which this conversation happens between Kel, Aubrey, and Hiro. Hey, look, this camera is taking live footage of us. Aw, we look so cute. Heh, almost makes me wish we had a camera. Don't worry, we have loads of pictures of us, don't we? We have pictures of us? Where? But only when we least expect it. Essentially, in this conversation, Omori's friends have more so forgotten about Basil at this point. The more that Basil has been missing, the more and more Omori's friends forget about him. And now in this last part of the game, they've entirely forgotten about him. This isn't some freak one-off either. There's another section in Humphrey where Kel finds a basil plant, and they can't even remember Basil by looking at it at all. Aubrey attempts to remember, but just a basil plant reminds her of something instead of Basil himself. This forgetting process is one I'll talk about later, because in my opinion, Omori wanted his friends to forget about Basil all along, but I'll bring that up in a little bit. At the end of each section, we see Sweetheart talking with the Sea Witches, who all make different attempts to make Sweetheart a perfect clone so that she can marry it. The first one just makes a robot version that can't speak. The second sister makes a weird blob of Sweetheart that just speaks like a toddler. But the last sister makes a perfect version of Sweetheart, an identical clone. And she doesn't even want the damn thing, saying, "Oh, nothing is more perfect than me." Like, get out of here with this ego. Oh my god. Upon finishing the last room, we get access to the slimy keycard, which allows us to travel up and down Humphrey's body. Jesus Christ, that sounds a lot worse actually saying these voice lines instead of when I actually wrote that. Okay. Following the walkway forward shows us that Sweetheart is trying to run, but the Sea Witches call out to Humphrey and she's eaten alive by him. Holy shit. Right before she leaves though, she tells them that we'll handle her payment, and after many, many fees, her total was a whopping 1 million clams. And even though I gambled quite a bit of money, I didn't gamble quite enough. So to make up for the payment, they threaten to rip us apart, and this one gets a little freaky with Omori saying, quote, he'd make a good pet. Yeah, Aubrey steps in on that one real quick. After some time though, they just pick up Kel and hold him hostage, but he gets away and the group gears for a fight against I swear this isn't a porn game. I swear to God, I'm not watching porn. So after that intro, this fight is against the Slime Girls, and while there isn't a gimmick, this fight is a wild card in the sense that you don't know what their next move is actually going to do. When you get them down to a certain point, they just do some random attacks that swap your health and juice and then deals explosion damage. So if you think you can do this fight without taking serious damage, you will take serious damage. I never found it hard, but just difficult to memorize when certain attacks will happen though. And since nearly everything in Headspace is based off of what Sunny has seen or experienced in real life, what has Sunny been looking at to conjure up squid girls that want to keep him as a pet? I mean, like, I'm not judging. We all have preferences. I would just like to know for research purposes. After you defeat them, they back off to feed Humphrey since he's getting even more hungry now. But they ran out of food to give him, and Humphrey gets very, very hungry, and then eats the slime girls whole right in front of us and begins to surround the group with his phalanges, his taste buds, whatever the hell you call talking whale cells. He traps us in, Omori and his friends beg for their life, but he does not care. He needs to eat, and your fight with Humphrey begins. This is the part where I said that if you don't level up enough, you can get stuck. You can save between the two fights, but you aren't able to escape. So if you aren't careful, you can actually get soft locked here if you aren't able to beat Humphrey. Regardless though, Humphrey doesn't have any gimmicks. He just respawns over and over and over again. And every time his form changes, he says some corny joke. But as the fight goes on, he progressively gets more weird and uncomfortable with his dialogue. Quote, time to feast, time for you to be deceased. And then when you go inside of his stomach, he says, just a warning, it's about to get smelly. It's time for you all to get in my belly. In his final stage, he just swallows the group over and over, and eventually you'll reach his uvula. And of course, it has the iconic Humphrey smile on it. I'm not sure how this whale is able to do that, but regardless, we attack the uvula, he throws us up, and he disappears under the water for good. When Omori and his friends recuperate afterwards, they have completely forgotten about Basil and have completely forgotten about the search for him. We pick up the last key for Hangman, and this cutscene is what follows suit. Going into the last hole takes us to a black and white forest with a person trying to chop down a tree with a noose in it. If we talk with the person, they say, "Stay away, you are not my son." Trying to talk with them again, we'll say, "Why? Why won't you fall?" as the person isn't able to cut down the tree. It's generally agreed that this person is Sunny's dad, and this is how Sunny interprets a part of Marie's death. A very tragic and sad showing for foreshadowing before we enter black space and learn the truth behind why she died. When we come out of the forest, we go down a whirlpool at the dock and are transported to a long hallway with the black hands that have been appearing since the start of the game. A voice calls out to us during this scene, and this is what it says.
You have come again to seek the truth. Each time your adventures may be desperate, but as your journey nears its end, it will always lead you back here. The truth. The truth is always the same. The path to the truth was once here, but it has been removed. It was moved to a lighthouse and a pier, then to a library banished deep underground, and after that to an old barn on a distant planet. And this time, it will be in the heart of a vast forest. No matter how many times the path is concealed, the flower boy will always find it, and your dear sister Marie, she will always guide you to it. Even as hollow shells, they will continue to evolve, and each time they will grow wings and fly too close to the sun. It is their nature. They are the only ones who know, and one has carried it with her to her grave. Death may be no danger here, but the memories of them do not fade so easily. Many times, your friends have met with an unfortunate fate. Although they are revived time and time again, the most haunting stay in this world, even if only their bones remain. The long-lost ones sink here to the bottom of the deep well and become nothing. You have forsaken them, yet they still yearn for your care. Their souls know nothing but how to scream for help. Do you take pity on them? Your dear sister Marie with a bad knee. You could not bear for her to die again, so she was given the safety of a picnic blanket, yet it is her nature to leave and to protect, and when she does, she will leave you again and be born anew, with the undying soul that you have cursed her with. The souls assigned to your friends, they are fragile and must be protected, and so they must remain asleep. Yet the path to the truth is closer to your most precious room than ever before. Will you be able to bury it this time? Perhaps it is too late for you. You know of the keys to the other realm. They are different each time, but they will unlock the same door. The end of this journey will lead to suffering, but if you do not face this, you cannot continue. This form, though it has not shown itself, is true evil. You will not see that unless you fight it. When your intentions become hazy, they will transpire into this world like a thick fog. You will know it when it happens. It has already happened before. At that time, return to where the truth was reborn, to the heart of the forest, and like each time before it, attempt to rewrite your fate. Will you be doomed to repeat this cycle over and over, or will you break it? Explore this world while you still can, dreamer, until there is nothing left.
After the dialogue ends, the window just turns into a mosaic of something, and interacting with it will allow you to head back to the starting room of Hero Aubrey and Kel, to which you can go anywhere you'd like in the world. Before we dive into the black hole at Basil's house, let's talk first about what that voice just said to us. It's interesting to see the order in which this thing has tried to communicate with us before. If you take a look at the order, they appear not in the way we first find them, but how close they are to white space, with the lighthouse being the farthest of the three, the lost library being the second furthest away, and the barn on Otherworld being the closest. But now, it has moved to the vast forest, the very starting point of the game. It's now that we see why all three of these locations contain references to Sunny's past. They were directly calling out to end his isolation and to get him to accept the truth, but time and time again, Sunny denied it and kept using his Omori persona. Like Daddy Longlegs and the Branch Coral imply, the Omori persona and white space itself exists only to repress the trauma, grief, and anxiety that Sunny holds. Yet even with the deep denial Sunny is in, it still finds a way through and continues to, quote, scrape and scratch at the back of his head. It's never confirmed what this voice that speaks to Omori is, but it's speculated to be Sunny's deeper consciousness talking with him, but like how the stranger tries to communicate with Sunny. The reason why Basil was removed is because he knows of the truth of Marie's death, and is a loose end that leaves an imperfection on Headspace as a whole. Sonny can't control what Basil does in real life, but in his head, he is able to have that ability and removes Basil and any trace of the truth, but yet it's never enough. Walking towards Basil's house, we get the same cutscene with the flowers that we got at the start of the game. However, when it comes to the tulips, a different set of dialogue is spoken, and this is why I believe Basil was hiding something all the way back at the start when I made that comment on this section. The stranger says, quote, "And these are white tulips. Tulips aren't very flashy plants. They're not too big or small, not too elaborate or flamboyant. If I could put it in another way, I guess I would say that they're comfortable, simple, modest, and perfect, just like Sonny." This is why it strikes me odd, because we don't get anywhere near this much at the start, nor does Basil reference Sonny, and in my opinion, this was a memory that was blocked out from Sonny's mind, and I'll touch on why here in a bit when we learn the truth. After pressing forward to Basil's house, the path is longer than before. The trees slowly die out as we get closer as a thick fog covers his house. Surrounding it is the black hands and blood-stained water. Before we head in, Aubrey cries out to us telling Omori that we should head back, but we have to press forward. Walking inside, we see the stranger lead us toward the hole, and we make the plunge into black space. Black space. The complete dichotomy to white space. If we use what the branch coral tells us, if white space and the hanging light bulb are the ideas of repression, then black space is the opposite. Instead of housing repression, black space is the culmination of Sonny's guilt, depression, and anxieties, as it is the deepest layer in Sonny's consciousness. The music is the inverse of white space, being played by some metallic thumps. To navigate around, we pick up keys from the different rooms and go from room to room until we get out. Upon entering the first room, the stranger greets us and says, "These rooms are full of broken things, but at least in here, I can see who you really are. The world that you created above this one, did you make it to protect this place or to hide it away? Either way, it's become more powerful than you." And then the stranger fades away as we explore the first room. You'll notice that many of the rooms in black space range from weird to just downright disturbing. The music is either terrifying or melancholic, and no matter what, you will always be on edge here. No matter how many times I play this game, Black Space is that one part that just gives me chills, because every time I come here, I feel like I'm discovering something new that wasn't there before. OMOCAT really doubled down on the anxiety factor, and it really shows and gives this section a lot of character. What mainly does it is that you can't identify anything here. It's all just a mess, and even though there's aspects you do know, OMOCAT just takes it and flips it on its head to make some demented creature. It's like looking at one of those images where you can't identify anything. In the second room, once again, it's just a jumbled mess with an off-tuned violin music playing. The stranger is here again to tell us, in this lies the root of everything, the truth that you've locked away. You must find it no matter what. You have to, for the both of us. After the second room, Omori's sketchbook appears, but this time it's way weirder, has red pages, and new sketches of Sunny's phobia of spiders. The first cutscene of Basil and Sunny staring at the photos, and something with Helmery overlapping it. The next room is just pitch black with a low hum buzz. Once again, just follow the footsteps and move on to the fourth room, which is just a bunch of houses that you can surprisingly interact with. There's 3 houses you can interact with. One of them allows you to go in it to discover a graveyard for people who actually help develop and contribute to the game, which is kind of funny to find this here in Black Space. The other one you can go inside as well, and there's a picture of something, but once you interact with it, it just begins to follow you around until you leave. And the third one, well, that one's just, okay, and it's another jump scare. That's great. The stranger once again tells us, when you hid the truth, you sealed a part of me away with it. He's been waiting here for someone to save him all this time. On that day, when you became nothing, I was split in half. Which of me do you think was more painful? Before disappearing again. The fifth room is just a long hallway of trees with a piano playing in the background. The little gloobs are here from deeper well, but interacting with them will just cause them to call you a liar over and over again. And at the end, we see something and talk to it. Over time, it just keeps saying, Sunny, I love you, and nothing else. There's also an Easter egg you can do here to access a part of Black Space 2, and while I would go into detail about that, I'll save that for the Hikikomori route, which now is a good time to talk about that route and why I won't be covering it. Hikikomori adds a lot of more depth to the story, and it's only intended to be played after you understand the plot of Omori's true route, the Sunny route. Black Space and its second counterpart are different in the sense that while Black Space harbors Sunny's fears and anxieties, Black Space 2 is just complete randomness, with it featuring random fragments and assortments of memories. And while Black Space Random 2, it's nothing compared to Black Space 2. And in my mind, warrants a whole video dedicated to that route, because of how complex it is. Going back into the forest, we grab the key and head to the sixth room, which is one that is really just disturbing to me. Upon entering, Meow is strapped down, and the cat tells us that Meow has been very bad. If you keep interacting with Meow, you actually kill it by cutting Sunny's cat apart. The worst part about this room isn't the music or the action that you can do, even though that it's both really, really unsettling. It's the fact that you can get out of this room entirely by just stabbing yourself, but because it's hidden away, most players their first time actually kill Sunny's cat to get out, thinking that's what they have to do, before realizing the option to stab was there the whole time. And as a cat owner, this room deeply disturbed me. The sixth room is just a jungle of watermelons, and surprisingly, Headspace Basil is actually alive and intact here. He tells Omori about how he's so happy to see him and how he's been growing watermelons here. To get the key, you have to interact with all the watermelons, and once you do, not only do you get the key, but Basil also explodes into nothing but a pile of flesh and blood, as the music just makes an abrupt cut. It's just very shocking. The last room in Black Space is of a beach with various objects from Headspace and photographs scattered around. The stranger is here once more to tell Omori, our friends who have suffered because of us. Can we still call them friends? No matter how much I want it, things can't go back to the way they were before. But why does part of me still cling on? Is there still hope left for us, Sunny, before disappearing? Trying to interact with the photographs will just lead to them being scribbled out, almost like the scene from the keycaps when you collect it. When you find the key by swimming in the ocean here, When you go back, a red door will spawn, and going through will take you to this snowy mountain with the church of something at the very top. The audience members are nothing but scribbles, and at the altar, Basil is strung together by the hold of something. As the stranger comes back once again to say, "Sonny, the truth is here. You've been running from this for so long, but this time, we can face it together," as the stranger walks into Basil, practically possessing him. As we walk towards him, he pleads out for forgiveness while being consumed by something, and we can go in to save Basil. And as much as I had dialogue over this scene in the game, I want you guys to witness it without any dialogue so that you can get the full emotional impact of it. Sonny wakes up, completely thrown out of bed as he goes downstairs to the piano room where Marie is playing the piano. She talks to Sonny about how waltzes were always her favorite song, and why she picked her song for their last recital, which they never played together. Right as we were about to play with her, Hero busts through the room and swears he heard some music, but he talks with us about why he misses Marie, and why he never understood why she decided to die the way she did. But Hero tells us to go back to sleep, but if you check the bathroom mirror, Marie is standing behind Sonny, but not in her usual hellish format. It's still somewhat creepy, but she somewhat looks normal this time. Sonny goes back to bed, and he wakes up the next morning to see that Hero has completed all of our tasks and cooked breakfast for us. But moments later, Kim, Aubrey's friend, comes through the door, panicking because she hasn't been able to get Aubrey out of her room. We head down to her house and enter through, but before we enter, Kel and Hero comment on the fact that they've never seen Aubrey's house before. But upon entering her house, it is a complete disaster, with trash thrown everywhere and her mom being a drunken wreck, most likely passed out on the couch. We head upstairs to find Aubrey, and she wonders why we got into her house, but Hero ends up being able to get Kel and Aubrey to forgive each other, as Aubrey explains that everything she's been feeling was a result of feeling like she was abandoned by the group. We also learned that Basil tried to scribble out the photos in the Phobo album, and after that day, it's the reason why Aubrey was after the album, because in her eyes, she was protecting it from Basil. Regardless though, we tell her that we have the album and we add some more photos to it. Photos of Marie that Aubrey held for safekeeping, with the album missing one photo now. Aubrey comes out and tells the group that she has some things to do today since she's going to apologize to Basil and tags along with us, finally completing the quad that Headspace was built from. There's not much to do in Faraway Town on the last day. There's still some secrets and quests you can do. One of the most notable ones is putting flowers on Marie's grave. Both Hero and Aubrey have something to say, but Hero comes forward telling Marie that he's sorry for never visiting her grave, and he's sorry for being selfish. A moment where Hero is finally able to accept the reality at hand and is able to face something he wasn't able to before. But if you try and interact with the grave one last time, the game will ask if you would like to have a picnic with Marie. And when I saw this, my jaw dropped to the fucking floor, I swear. This has got to be one of the saddest lines in the game, and Marie's theme being slowed down during it just really hits different. Going to Basil's house, we learn that he isn't there, but instead at the hospital with his grandma. So to buy time, the group heads back to Sunny's house to reminisce in their childhood memories. When they go out back, they see the stump of the tree where Marie allegedly hung herself. And while the group thinks about that day, they don't confront it and go forward in the treehouse. In the treehouse, the group reminisces on their childhood memories there. Before spotting the last photograph hanging on the wall, we take a look at it and then flip it over, and we get the same message we've seen before. Don't forget, it's in the toy box. We stick the photograph back in the album and admire the completed album, as it's ours to keep forever. I really like this part of the game, because it's a special moment to go back and remember what being a kid was like with your old friends, and remember what times were like before bad things happened. To remember when you were just a carefree kid with no responsibility. It makes a comment on getting old and what growing up feels like, and is why when you're a kid, you really shouldn't take anything for granted, because later in life, you'll look back on those days wishing you could go back. Going out of the treehouse, the group passes by the stump one last time, and Aubrey gives us more dialogue about Marie's death. And while even though she blames herself for all of Basil's problems, Hero cheers her up by giving the group a hug, which spawns one of the best screenshotable moments in this game, nearly bringing a damn tear to my eye, I'll be honest. And the music, for the 10th time, just adds an extra tinge of feeling to really tug at your heart. Now that it's the evening, you head back to Basil's house, but while doing so, you see his grandma standing in the road before slowly fading away, foreshadowing the fact that she has since passed away. When we get to Basil's house and knock on the door, Polly answers and she tells us that Basil has been locked in his room ever since coming home. But even though he won't come out, Hero says they spend the night because when the group needed their friends the most, they vanished. Quite the way to come back full circle, in my opinion. Aubrey goes up to the door, gives an apology, and the group gets settled in on the couch for the night ahead so they can comfort Basil when he decides to come out. We finally go to bed after Kel begs us to, since he's a big sleepyhead. And we awake in white space, but not as Omori, but as Sunny this time. As Sunny walks forward, he sees Omori, and even though you can talk with him, he doesn't say anything, only blankly watching you move around. You can't interact with anything else here besides one thing, the hanging black light bulb, in which Sunny unscrews and throws onto the ground, smashing it instantly. Right before as the screen cuts to black, Omori looks at us wondering what the hell we just did. Sunny then spawns in a black abyss with voices humming in the background as our heart thumps, and it makes its appearance. Something. The creature that has followed us around for the entire game is now right in front of us, the culmination of our fear. We must fight it now, not as Omori, but as Sunny. Oddly enough, Sunny doesn't start this fight afraid, and even though we can't attack something, we're still able to use our abilities to keep our health up. Eventually, it transforms into something in the dark, the creature that symbolizes Sunny's fear of heights, as we have to calm down to get rid of it. After a while, it transforms into something in the walls, the spider creature that symbolizes Sunny's fear of spiders, to which we calm down to get rid of that one too. Before something transforms into something in the water, the representation of Sunny's fear of drowning, we calm down, but something else is in front of Sunny this time. He's afraid, but calming down doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it says the action text, "Something sways in the wind." Sunny focuses, and this time it comes into view. The image is Marie's hanging corpse, swinging in the wind, a representation of Sunny's denial towards her death. We're told, "You feel like your life is in danger," as Sunny has to use the move Persist over and over, as something will deal lethal damage to Sunny if he doesn't. You're then told your lungs tighten up, then your heart beats out of your chest. Your fingers won't stop trembling. Your heart begins to steady. You hear your breathing begin to steady. You hear your heartbeat begin to steady. Sunny then learns the move Overcome, which will end the fight and transport him to a bright, sunny forest. And this is the beginning of what the community has dubbed the Truth Sequence, as Sunny will begin to remember and face why Marie exactly died, with Basil at the end sitting by a tree. He says to us, quote, "Sunny, you're finally here. I've always dreamed that you would come back for me, but maybe it's too late. The truth of that day will be hard to accept. When you see it, you have to stay strong, and if you can, please forgive me." He then hands us the photo album, and we begin to delve into the dark world of the day Marie died. The first room is of Sunny's living room. The red glow beams in from the windows and TV, as blood-stained hands sit on the glass door. The family photo is scribbled out as Sunny's mom mourns the loss of her only daughter. After picking up the two photographs, we move on to the next room. The next room is a hospital with many copies of Marie connected to life support. You can interact with the TVs, and they'll actually throw out moments from your Headspace adventures, which is something creepy, in my opinion, as it shows that the truth has been watching you this entire time. This room to me is also one of the scariest. It's just the environment of endless dying patients in a hospital is very disturbing. Whenever I'm in a hospital in real life for some reason, I'm always on edge. To me, it's just the environment, how empty it feels, especially at night, knowing that most of the people in there are also suffering to varying degrees. But as you collect more photos, more Maries will start to disappear until the music cuts out, and there's one Marie that has had their blood IV cut and has died. Interacting with them tells us that they aren't breathing, and we move forward to the stairwell, where Sunny begins to turn red. If we collect the photograph at the bottom, we're teleported into Sunny's room, where we see Marie's body not breathing, and Basil calls out to us saying, "Sunny, don't worry, everything is gonna be okay." We're then spawned onto a stage where we have to collect 5 photographs. Every time we pick one up, one of Sunny's fingers gets chopped off and he becomes more bloody, and he starts to turn green. The more we collect, the more demented Sunny becomes, turning into a bloody monster with glowing red eyes. Once we collect them, we're teleported to the living room, where we put in the light bulb and see the demented family photos in the back, where they're all bloody and scribbled out. But the large one close to the ground shows us the demonic version of Sunny, the same one we saw when collecting one of the keys. Upon collecting the photograph, we begin our walk towards the end, with photographs scattered along the way, and at the very end, we see a tree with a noose tied to it, and its shadow casts something hanging in a noose. Upon collecting the last photograph, the truth is finally revealed. On the day of Sunny and Marie's recital, Sunny and Marie broke into an argument at the top of the stairs, and Sunny throws his violin, breaking it, being fed up with it looming over his life. As Marie scolds him, in a fit of rage they begin to fight, and Marie is pushed down the stairs, immediately killing her, as presumably her neck snaps. As Sunny goes downstairs to check on her, he realizes she won't get up. Sunny drags Marie back into bed, where he begs her to wake up, as he looks at his hands and realizes that he had just killed his sister. He sits down by her, crying. Basil comes in and comforts him, and they carry her body down the stairs, out the door, with Basil's horrified expression staring him back. They find a tree, a jump rope, and a platform. They hoist Marie's body into the tree and tie a noose around her neck to make it look like she had hung herself. But as the boys walk back to the house, Sonny and Basil look back, and they see Marie's lifeless corpse staring back at them through the slit in her hair. And at this very moment, the creature that has haunted Sonny for 4 years was born. When I saw this was the truth, that this was the root of Sonny's trauma, my jaw was on the fucking floor. And after you realize what had actually happened, all of the symbolism in this game with something and the hanging bodies seeing from time to time, and seeing the relation of stairwells with the phobias, it all makes sense now. Omori has been dangling the truth in front of your face the entire time, and after you play the game, you can't unsee it. Something isn't just a creature with an eyeball. Something is the physical manifestation of the last thing Sonny saw of Marie. It's why, in my opinion, Omori is able to be played a second or even a third time, because you'll see all of these references as they take on an entirely different meaning, now that they have actual context as to why they exist. The stranger is a manifestation of Basil, as he is the only one to know the truth. It's also why we see Omori sit on a throne of red hands, and we see demonic renditions of Sonny in the scene of the truth. It's because Sonny views himself as a monster, and his hands are permanently bloodstained from the fact that he killed his sister and staged it as a suicide. It's why I believe the quote about the tulips was initially left out, as it goes against Sonny's image of himself and completely invalidates the alter ego of Omori even existing. See, Sonny sees himself as this horrible monster, and for that, he isn't anywhere close to perfect, and Omori is meant to mask that. Omori is meant to mask anything that has any recollection with the truth. If Sonny is perfect, it means Omori has no reason to exist, because Omori protects Sonny from the imperfections in his life. But after that sequence, Sonny wakes up and we go to Basil's room. Interacting with the door reads, "Do you want to save Basil?" And we hit yes. We see Basil staring at his window. He turns around to greet us, saying he's happy we came, before completely going mental as he's having a psychotic episode. He says, "It came to you that day, the day Marie died. When Marie fell, you couldn't have done it. It was something behind you, wasn't it? You're a good person, Sonny. I know you're a good person. A good person wouldn't do something like that. After all this time, you've come back for me. But tomorrow, you're going away. How could you do that? That's mean, Sonny. That's so mean." Basil then begins to identify the something that he has as Sonny tries to leave, but something greets him and he can't leave. Basil is right on top of him. "Where are you going? Stop trying to leave me," as he repeats "stop it" over and over and begs you not to leave him. Basil's something then surrounds him as he exclaims, "When something killed Marie, when something ruined all of my photos, I didn't say anything. I didn't want people to think it was you, Sonny. Sonny wouldn't do something like that." But as Basil is so deep in his denial, something to Basil is Sonny. Sonny pushed Marie down the stairs, and Sonny was the person who scribbled out all of the photos in the album, not Basil, which means that Basil took the blame to save Sonny's reputation. As Sonny tries to leave again, Basil says that he'll save us and that everything will be okay, before something appears and pushes us closer, and we fight Basil. The atmosphere in this fight, it's tense. Really tense. Both boys are crying, the action bar has been replaced by a heart rate monitor, and there isn't any music, just the sound of wind whirling around and ambiance. Sonny can't run and he's afraid, but he can't calm down. Trying to calm down or use any of his abilities for that matter will just result in him not being able to. He's too overwhelmed by his past and his trauma. The only thing he can do is attack Basil. We're told that Sonny wants to run, and Basil asks if he's selfish for doing this, and questions why we won't stop. When the meter hits 10, it spells out everything is going to be okay, the phrase that has plagued this game giving root to toxic positivity. As a cutscene plays of Sonny being completely overwhelmed and his eyes glow red and church bells play in the background. When we come back, Sonny is stressed out, an emotion not seen anywhere else in the entire game. Sonny can't use any skills, he can't run, he can't do anything except fight Basil, and Basil doesn't stop. They hit and stab at each other over and over, and I really thought during this fight that one of the boys was going to kill each other. I mean, with this track for the song being called Your Catastrophe Procession, in which procession means a group of people following in an order for a funeral. A funeral procession. Just as we are about to die, Basil stabs us and Sonny's vision goes black, but when his eyes open, one is gone. Basil has just stabbed one of Sonny's eyes out, and the two boys pass out shortly after as you can hear sirens in the background. Sonny wakes up in the street, the same way Basil's grandma appeared, so with that logic, you'd think he's dead, but no, Sonny is just unconscious, and this is just the deepest part of his memory. We head into Sonny's house as Basil greets us. Sonny, you found your way back home. I don't know if I've ever said this properly, but I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble. When I gave you my photo album, I really did want you to have it, but somehow, whenever I try to help, I always end up burdening you instead. Yeah, maybe it's because you're the walking reminder of the fact we hid a murder with a fake suicide and then you stabbed my eyeball out, but yeah, sure, we'll go with that, Basil. Upon entering Sonny's house, it's not demented this time, it's bright and vibrant. The family photo hangs up with all its glory, showing Sonny, Marie, and their parents. We go into the hallway of the door on the right and talk with Marie again. She tells us it's okay to make mistakes and that she forgives us for what we did. She says we've worked hard to get to this point, and exiting the room, the closet on the left appears, and going inside, we unlock the toy box and grab the broken violin. When we exit Sonny's house, we're taken to the last area of Omori called Memory Lane, where here, Sonny remembers the 6 memories, the memories of the lost library, the memories of the ones he tried to erase from the photo album. They're all here. You can even interact with Sonny's friends and get some dialogue options. We can confirm that Sonny did like Aubrey, as if you talk to Basil during the rain memory, he says, "You always ask to look at my photo whenever I take pictures of Aubrey. Do I maybe sense a little crush?" The violin will also mend itself as you go from memory to memory. Eventually the violin will regain itself and you'll appear backstage as your friends talk with you one last time, where they reaffirm Sonny when he faces the truth. He won't be a monster in their eyes, and that he has to have faith that he can be forgiven. We save our game one last time and go onto the stage as Aubrey calls out, saying she believes in us. Sonny puts the sheet music onto the stand. The auditorium is completely empty. No one is around as Sonny readies himself to play a segment from the duet that he never got to play with his sister. Sonny breaks down into tears as he enters white space one last time. The final fight in Omori isn't a crazy boss in Headspace or a kid in Faraway Town. The final boss in Omori is against yourself and the alter ego that Sonny has created. No matter what, we still can't run. Trying to run just covers the option with the red hands, and Sonny has 4 moves he can do. Calm Down to restore some health, Allegro to keep his juice from falling, Encore, which is a multi-attack, and Cherish, a move that completely regenerates your health by remembering the memories of your words of your friends. This boss fight, in my opinion, is one of the hardest in the game, not in difficulty, but in how important it is to the story, how everything has set up to this point. If you remember the voice in the hallway after Humphrey, it said that the Omori form was evil, and well, this is what it meant. After nearly killing Omori, he just goes into another stage of the fight, as the plot armor mechanic is used against us as he turns a shade of red. During the second stage, Omori will talk to Sunny in the same font when you're close to completing the keys or when the stranger talks to us. He says, "You've caused so much suffering, yet you do nothing, and you've earned nothing in return." As we progress through the stages of the fight, Omori just begins to get harsher and harsher with his words. In the next phase, his eyes stay open this time, and the red hands surround Omori with the red backdrop from Red Space appears behind him. In phase 3, Omori says, quote, "You tell yourself that you don't want to burden others, but the truth is you're selfish. You just don't want people to depend on you. When do you think about others? How long are you going to let people take care of you? You say you care, but you're a liar. You've never done anything for anyone else. You're useless. Less than useless. You're sick." As he tells Sunny, "People like you don't deserve to live." And that's something Omori says a lot in this fight. He just keeps reiterating that Sunny is nothing and that he should just kill himself. And it shows the commitment that Omori has to the cause of denial, as it would rather see Sunny dead than face what actually happened with Marie and its one goal of keeping the truth away. Omori doesn't care what it has to do, he will accomplish that goal, even if it means someone has to die for it. Once again, he stays up as Hell Marie appears and the music slowly becomes more twisted and demonic. Omori tells Sunny, "You're nothing but a liar, and when they see the truth, they'll hate you as much as you hate yourself. If they know the truth, you'll never be able to regain their trust. No matter what you do, it will be hopeless. All you do is make things worse. It would be better to just die." With killing Omori this time changes the message to Omori will not succumb. And you know what? Omori can't be killed in this fight. No matter how much damage you do to him, he will not succumb and will just continue to berate Sunny over and over, telling him to just go and die. Omori is so deeply rooted into Sunny that he can't even remove him by fighting him. And no matter what Sunny does, Sunny eventually succumbs to Omori no matter how long the fight is dragged out. But when you're asked to retry, we see Sunny sleeping in a bed and it asks us if we want to continue. We hit yes, and one of the most beautiful cutscenes that you will ever witness plays out in front of us. As much as I want to put dialogue over this and analyze it, I want you guys to experience it for yourself. Sunny then wakes up in his hospital bed crying, and we can actually walk around. Depending on how many quests you did, you'll actually get gifts from different NPCs. Like in this playthrough, I got gifts from Michael's siblings for playing hide and seek with them. We can look at Sunny in the mirror, and it's just him and his bandaged self. Upon walking outside, we come to an intersection with the friends from Headspace and one with the stranger. But knowing we need to follow the truth, the stranger takes us to Basil's room where we see the 4 friends, and in the following cutscene, Sunny says, "I have to tell you something," as the screen fades to black. Wow, what a game. Like really. When I first played this game, I was crying when I finished it. The duet cutscene was the first time I had ever cried at any video game period, and I think it's the fact of using instruments that evoke emotions like the violin and the piano while combining them with elements of Sunny's past to make a cutscene showing that he's finally able to live with the death of Marie while remembering all of his happy memories is just beautiful in my opinion. Omori's story is like something I've never seen in any game before, and I will be the first one to say that I think this game is a perfect 10 out of 10 without question. In fact, I would have to say it's better than Undertale in the impact it has on the player. I mean, literally, I could not get over this game for a week straight, wondering about what happens next. But also the psychological horror elements, as for pretty much that entire week, I thought that the demonic creatures were watching me every time I had my back to a wall. If I were to give any critiques, it would literally have to be nitpicks that don't affect anything at all, like, oh, well, why isn't this game in 4K resolution? Why is it in a square? You know, dumb shit like that. And if you make a game to where that is the only critiques that players can say, I think it's safe to say that you have a 10 out of 10 game. But I think Omori also conveys the message that even though it might be hard to face the truth in situations in your life, it's better to come to terms with it and accept it instead of bottling it away and living in denial. I think that's one of the key reasons I relate to this game so much, is because I've been in Sunny's situation with bottling emotions and hiding away the problems in my life. I'm sure it's something we've all done at some point. But even though in the short term it might seem like a good idea, over time it only worsens the relationships you have with those around you, and it can eventually cause harm, either to you or to other people. But Omori also shows a story of not giving in to the voice that doubts you. Omori, the alter ego, isn't just made to protect Sunny from the truth. Omori is also the voice inside Sunny's head that doubts him, because like the Tulip quote suggests, if Sunny is perfect and can be forgiven, what's the point of Omori existing? And so for Omori to exist, he must remind Sunny that he's a failure and that he will never amount to anything. Omori isn't just an alter ego. Omori is the voice inside of your head that doubts you, the voice that tells you to give up, and this story shows that you don't have to give in to it. Now, if you're like me and also wonder what the hell happens after Omori, I'd like to think that Sunny was forgiven, seeing as one of the themes in Omori itself is forgiveness. I mean, we literally see these teenagers beat up and assault each other with nail bats, steak knives, garden shears, pepper spray, and even pushing kids who can't swim into large bodies of water. But even though Kel gets beat up by a spike bat 3 times and jumped by 6 people, he somehow forgives Aubrey after 2 days. Even with that being said, I think the main question of was Sunny forgiven remain unanswered by Omocat themselves. I think this is because if we were to be given a definitive answer, it completely shoots the story's build up in the leg and either completely invalidates the process Sunny went through by showing that there was nothing to be afraid of if he's going to be forgiven no matter what, or by completely invalidating the point of trying to overcome it by Sunny just being seen as guilty. Omori as a game raises the debate of when someone should be forgiven. What point does someone have to cross to not be forgived for their actions? And each and every person who watches this video is going to have a different answer, and it all just comes down to morals and what you believe, of taking overused tropes and giving them actual proper meaning. I know that fighting the evil version of yourself is a common trope in RPG games, most often done as a cheap gimmick to add bosses or to try and advance the story without any actual thinking, but Omocat does this by introducing Omori right out the start. That plot armor line of Omori will not succumb, the same one we love in Headspace, takes on an entirely new meaning in the final fight of the game, because this entire time, it was a statement to how committed Omori was to his cause. Omocat's story here is great because it finds ways to completely catch you off guard and rip at your heart by giving purpose to nearly everything in the game. And this is only the beginning of the Omori iceberg, as there's a whole other route that we have to cover, and it's why I'm giving the Hikikomori route its own separate video, as there's so much to go over and expand on as now we know the truth to Marie's death. I don't think there was one part of this game that felt unneeded. Nothing in this game feels like it's just done for plot convenience. It flows so well to the point that it's unnoticeable. Tie perfect story writing with a masterfully crafted OST and memorable characters that the community will love, and you have yourself a perfect mix for any 10 out of 10 game. And even though Omori is the only game to have this storyline, the community is still as strong as ever, with mods being made monthly, hundreds of thousands of amazing artwork, and fuck, Omocat is even working to help develop the Omori a manga adaptation of the entire story. I'm so happy I could share this game with you all. It's one of my personal favorites, and it will be for years and years to come. I'm aware that this video isn't my usual type of video. In fact, it's so out of place, but in a way I don't really care. I made this video out of a passion that I have, and even though it's been roughly 5 months since I posted, mostly from work or from issues within production, I'm happy I took this long because it means I could make a video as great as I could. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.